Good morning, AP Psych students, Cougar Nation. There we go. I'm presenting my screen right now. Welcome to April 15th, 2020 AP Psychology lesson. Today's probably a relatively short one for you. Yesterday I shared a video. Hopefully you check that out. Remember, that's not going to be required, but I am going to have you do the quizzes this week. I posted that yesterday. Number you already done with it. If you're not, no worries. You got time to get it done. See, a bunch of you got mod 60 and 61 done as well, and that's great. I'll be entering some grades here in a bit, so hopefully I'll update that. And like always, if you do have questions, concerns, email, contact me via Remind. Show up to a Google Meeting. We did have some people at the Google Meeting yesterday. That was pretty exciting for me. Why does this say there's 2 people on this? Anyway, maybe there are. So you can definitely contact me, and let me just explain that we will get through this. If you do, it might take a little bit more extra time, something like that. I know this is confusing. I know some people I put something out and they get it done right away. Other people get it done eventually. And some people are like, Mr. Fuller, I'm trying to catch up. I get it. Sometimes there's complications. Some of you might have, I've got 3 kids at my house that I'm trying to keep on top of and be like, okay, here, what do you need to be doing? And we're doing an okay job at that. But, I understand if maybe your parents are home. Maybe they can help out. Maybe they're not. Whatever the situation is, yesterday the internet didn't work for me, so I had to cancel that meeting, and then it did work. And so I said, hey, I'm here. And that's all understandable. Okay, we're going to take this a little bit of time. We're going to get through this, and we're going to be better for it. Okay, so if you are having issues, just let me know. So today I want to start by talking about movies, because you've probably been home. There's a good chance you've watched some sort of movie. This link says 8 movies that will increase your IQ. I don't know if they really will, but they're movies about intelligence, which is kind of cool. Oh, Inside Out made the list. That's interesting. We wouldn't necessarily think that Inside Out is about intelligence, but it would definitely be about which type of intelligence. Emotional intelligence, right? There is a great message in that movie. There really is. And that was that, man, I'm not lying. I saw Onward this week. Have you guys seen Onward yet? Disney Pixar. They're just so good. They're so good. I don't know how they do it every time, but Onward was a very solid movie. Inside Out was an excellent movie too, all about dealing with different emotions and how that is actually important. Limitless, I don't know if you've heard of that movie. Not necessarily the best takeaway there, because he takes a pill that makes him super smart, and it kind of makes it seem like that's the answer, although it's not. But it's about it. He basically accelerates his intelligence quite a bit. The Imitation Game, I have not seen that, nor have I seen Memento. Memento, I think, is kind of a creepy one. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that one. Good Will Hunting, very solid movie if you want to watch that. A lot of swearing. I'm not going to essentially endorse that one, but I did see it when I was in high school, because it was back in the 1900s when I went to high school. But it's pretty cool. It's Matt Damon. I think it was his breakout movie. I don't know if it was his first movie, but it was his breakout movie. He and Ben Affleck, and basically he's a janitor at Harvard, but he's a genius. It's a good movie. Most people will enjoy that one. Okay, Primer, I have not seen that one either. A Beautiful Mind, that one I have seen. Recommend that one. It was one of the top. John Nash was this top economist, and he was brilliant beyond belief, and also schizophrenic. So that's a cool movie. Very long, but what do you got going on, right? And then Pi. Oh, Pi. Not The Life of Pi, but Pi. And I've seen that movie too. I watched that in high school. It's kind of a crazy movie. Not going to endorse that one either, but it is it says Pi 3.14 whatever, and it's about a mathematician. So it's an interesting movie. Those are all about different intelligences. I would also argue that you could make a case to say Forrest Gump. Now, Forrest Gump, clearly, when we're talking about all these intelligences, Forrest Gump was clearly in the movie lacking intelligence. He was, and that's not a true story by any stretch of the imagination. However, it does make you kind of question, like, how important is intelligence? Which intelligences are smarter or are necessary, I should say. Things like that. Like, how important and necessary is that? Can you be a person of average or below average intelligence and still succeed in life? To a certain extent, the answer is definitely yes, but not 100%. We took a look at that movie yesterday. I talked about Rain Man, right? Did anybody go see that movie yet or try to find it? Rain Man is a savant. He is a savant, means he is very gifted in certain areas, but deficient in other areas. That's starring Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise when he was still a relatively normal person. So Gardner came up with 8 intelligence. I'm just going to go over about 5, well, maybe a few more than 5 slides. I'm going to go over some slides just to kind of clear up, make sure you're understanding what's going on. But he talked about linguistic. That would be, communication. All right. Logical, mathematical. We obviously, when you think of like intelligent people or geniuses, Einstein comes to mind. Musical, Stravinsky, he was a composer. There's all sorts of, amazing musical people who are geniuses in that area. Spatial, Pablo Picasso, they brought up. This is just his examples. You can find many more modern examples of this. Bodily kinesthetic, a dancer. Intrapersonal, that's focusing on yourself, and then also interpersonal, that's focusing on communicating with others. He uses Gandhi as example. And then we have naturalist, and he chose Charles Darwin. It's basically exemplifying the natural world. Who understands the natural world? Because we don't all, right? Let's see here. I'm going to go some of these kind of quickly. Sternberg said there are 3 intelligences. So academic problem solving, creating intelligence, and practical intelligence. So like kind of, you think of it this way, it would be like analytical might be like your book smart, school smart. Creative would be like an artistic person, and practical is somebody who understands how things work. And maybe we call it street smart today. Okay. So just different ways of looking at it. I'm not going to read this one to you guys. I think that's pretty, if you read through it, you'll be able to understand the differences. Should you be able to understand the differences? Yes. Okay. Emotional intelligence, we talked about that a little bit ago, inside out. It's very intuitive. That makes sense, right? And we have, there's lots of different people who are either really good at that and some people who aren't as strong in that area. Okay. Let's see. Brain size studies. Does brain size matter? Not necessarily. Okay. We did talk about neuroplasticity, right? We all remember that term. Boy, let's hope that term comes up on the AP exam. Oh, by the way, join tonight. Go to the webinar. I believe it's 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sign up for it. Go to the webinar this evening. I will send out another remind message reminding you to do that. Okay. Let's see here. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Intelligence testing. Okay. Francis Galton did reaction time. And then we had Alfred Binet. And let's see, what did he come up with? He identified school children of needing assistance. Okay, this is when they started testing children. And he's the one who comes up with the IQ. And it's, where did we go here? And he comes up with basically the idea that you take your mental age divided by your actual age to come up with your, and then multiply it by 100. That's why the average intelligence is 100 at any stage of your life. It's going to be 100 because if your mental age, they do this test, if your mental age is 8 and your chronological is 8, and you divide that, you get 1 times 100 equals 100. If your mental age was, let's go with easier numbers. Let's do 10. If your mental age was 12 and your chronological age was 10, that would be 1.2 times 100. That's an IQ of 120. Okay, so the average IQ for people is about 100. There we go. Okay, achievement test. Okay, I wanted to get to this today. Make sure that you understand achievement versus aptitude test. This upcoming your AP exam should be an achievement test. It shows what you have learned. Aptitude test is a predictive test. There is some problem. So like achievement test would be saying, okay, how much have you learned? Let's assess that. That is most school tests. We are doing achievement tests. An aptitude test is a predictor. You've done that maybe in a career class. Maybe you did that for the counselor, something like that. It's a predictor, like how well will you do in this area? Okay. The problem that we run into a little bit here, this talks about the SAT, is the SAT is really an achievement test, but it is used to be an aptitude test. So that's why, getting a good score in the ACT or the SAT is important. However, that's not necessarily a great predictor of how well you will do. It is more of an achievement test, if that makes sense. And we look at the scatter plot here, the graph, and it's basically just, it shows, where people's IQ compared to their SAT scores. And wouldn't you know, a low IQ test correlates with a low SAT test. Okay. And that gets a little bit into that. I'm not going to worry about this one. It gets a little bit. Yeah, let's talk about this instead because I'm here. The bell curve, we talked about this earlier, right? This is how standardized testing works in general. This is kind of your big range of most people are going to fall in that middle range. And that's why this is called a standard deviation, because if you take a look here, 68% of the scores are going to be within this range right here. Okay. And then a second standard deviation gets us to, what is that? 13 and a half. It's like 68 plus 28. So 96% of your population is going to be within 2 standard deviations. Okay. If you don't quite understand standard deviation, I would highly recommend looking that up. There's a good chance that there will be something about like statistics or data on the AP exam using history as our guide. Okay. It's just saying most people. So we take a look, most people are going to fall into this middle range. Okay. With very few people getting way higher or way lower than that. There we go. This does a nice job of explaining it, actually. Okay. Basically the Flynn effect has basically said that our average scores have gone up over time. Reliable. Okay. Here's what I wanted to do. One last thing here. Okay. Reliability and validity. Again, reliable and valid. Okay. So valid means it is a fair test. Okay. We talked about that before. Is the test assessing what it should be assessing? And then reliable is, are you getting consistent results? This is why, okay, reliability, if you're taking something like the ACT, okay, let's say you took the ACT in the fall of your junior year, okay, and you didn't do super great. But then you take it again in, let's say, I'm not even going to put numbers. I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but let's say you got like a 20, okay, on your fall ACT during your junior year. If the test is reliable, they can accurately predict what you're going to get within reason on the spring of your junior year. So if you go from a 20 to a 22 or a 23, that's great. You could also go from a 20 to a 17 or an 18. That's pretty standard, okay? If you go from a 20 in the fall and you bump up to, like, let's say a 28, that actually raises red flags, which is why it's important that you try hard, even if you're like, look, I'm only going to do this twice. Because if you're just like, if you go into that fall test being like, I don't really even care, I'm not going to do anything, and you bomb it, and then you study hard and you work your butt off for your spring of your junior year, and you take it and you do really well, instead of being like, wow, that's amazing, we're really proud of you, they will be like, that is not normal, because reliably it should be in a certain range. Okay, you shouldn't be able to jump 8 points on a test, typically. So it actually raises some red flags, because that test has proven to be a reliable test. It's an accurate assessment of what students know. It is not necessarily an accurate predictor of how well they will do in college. However, it is an accurate assessment of what they have learned so far. Okay, I hope that makes some sense. I hope you check out one of those movies if you've got some time. Watch a movie. If you've seen a different movie, let me know. Send me a text message or a remind message. Send me an email. Show up to the Google meeting. I mean, I would for sure enjoy hearing about anything that's going on. If you find something that like it relates to this class in any way, because I'd certainly kind of miss the interaction portion of teaching. Because right now I'm just talking to a computer screen. And I get even less feedback from a computer screen than I do in class when I ask questions. So, feel free, drop me a line. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please contact me. We will get through it. I hope you guys are doing great. Enjoy this beautiful day. And remember, charge your Chromebooks. We'll talk to you guys later.